The nice thing about being able to speak German and English now is that I can watch TV shows in German and actually fall in love with them, you know? If you are looking for different ways to learn German other than just being in the classroom, well, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Life in Germany channel. I am Jenna, a Canadian who's been living here in Germany since 2014. I share all of my experiences learning the German language, living here in Germany, and I've also put together an entire free checklist when moving to Germany. So if moving to Germany is something that you're thinking about, you can head down below. I have included the links there. So you can also join our welcome program. You get access to the program workbook that goes much more into depth, how you can get started, how you can save some money, and how you can live happily here in Germany on a great budget. If you've watched any of my videos before, you might know that I've learned most of the German language through not actually going to school. One of the biggest helps for me was actually just binging on German TV and movie shows. I will also mention that Germans absolutely love dubbing everything. I prefer to watch the original version of the movies and TV shows, but for you guys it might also help if you've fallen in love with New Girl or Big Bang Theory or some series that you're willing to binge an entire day's worth of content. Well, then that also might be a really good option for you. Back when I was learning the language, there wasn't many good options other than just binging on classic German TV shows and movies, but thankfully there are some other people who also believe that watching binge-worthy videos is also a great way to learn the language. The team over at Lingopie, which is also today's video sponsor, went above and beyond to make this binge-watching experience even better. So on their platform, you can gain access to thousands of different super popular international movies and videos, and they combine it with an opportunity to actually learn. Have any of you watched Tatortreiniger before? This is on ARD. It's a German channel. Definitely worth watching and also conveniently included in the Lingopie platform. So while binging on this series, for example, you can turn on the interactive subtitles in both the language you're learning, so German, and your mother tongue. You can also create a mashup of the two languages to help you learn even quicker. You can simply click on the words that are new for you, and it will not only be repeated and translated to you, but it will also be added to your flashcards, which you can later access and practice with. Plus, you can also find all of those words displayed on one screen in your word list tab too. You can even pop into their Say It feature, where you can practice the pronunciation yourself. Need a sentence repeated? You just hit the loop symbol and listen to it again. I find a lot of German film stars tend to speak quite quickly, so you can also use their playback speed between 5 different levels, so beginner to full speed, to help you catch every sentence being spoken. If you'd prefer seeing a full script while watching, you can also follow the on-screen transcription rather than the smaller subtitles. And there are a ton of other features that you can go hop on Lingopie and explore for yourself as well. They have graciously offered Life in Germany viewers a special discount, and you even have a free 7-day trial. So as always, I will include that clickable link down below for you guys if you want to check it out. And if you've actually heard of Lingopie before, don't forget to head back into their platform because they've actually been uploading new TV shows and movies to their catalog every single week. So let's get into the 10 TV shows and German movies that I use to learn German really quickly. When I first moved to Germany and I did not speak a word of German, my go-to film, I think I watched it 3 or 4 times, was Friendship. This was launched in Germany in 2010, I believe, and the whole film basically starts with 2 boys right after the fall of the wall in Berlin back in 1989 decide that they want to flee and head to San Francisco. So basically with only like $55 in their pocket, they decide to go to America, hitchhike around the States, and basically just get themselves into a number of different hilarious and terrible situations. It is absolutely fun, it is hilarious, and it is super Denglish. So a lot of it's actually in English because they're in America, but they're German, so when they're speaking together, they're speaking German. So I find this to be a great starting video because you get a mix of both. And even if you don't understand the German humor, you'll probably understand a lot of the English humor that's been mixed into German. A TV show that I really liked when I first got here was Türkisch for Anfänger. Anfänger. They actually have a movie as well, which I'd also recommend. I think for a lot of foreigners and immigrants moving to Germany, this one is pretty cool because it's based on a German-Turkish family, and then basically all of the typical problems and norms that teenagers have, but also these cross-cultural experiences that they go through as German Turks. And many of those we experience as foreigners from other countries as well. And if you're an absolute beginner, I would also recommend watching some kids shows. So my favorite was Die Sendung mit der Maus, because this is also one of my son's favorite, and it's a super classic German TV show. They air this TV show on ARD Mediathek, which you can find online or on any streaming device like Amazon Fire TV Stick or Apple TV, for example. The show started back in 1971 and basically includes multiple mini different segments, both educational and hilarious. And it's one of these TV shows that I actually don't mind my son watching because he is learning a lot from it. It's not just like mind numbing. So you might also learn a thing or two about German life and German culture in there too. Am I allowed to swear on YouTube? I don't think so. I don't want to get like demonetized for this. So I'm just gonna say the next movie I wanted to recommend is pretty intense. It is called Fking Berlin. This is a relatively new Netflix movie that was released. It is based in Berlin. It is about the story of a beautiful young girl who is studying mathematics in university and basically just living out her life. It dives a lot into the topic of prostitution here in Germany, which is actually quite interesting. And she uses this as a method to really pay her bills, and you learn a lot about like the background story behind why she starts in this prostitution business. And it dives into a lot of other topics about sex and drugs and love. Again, it's quite intense, but I find that because it's actually kind of like a slower film and it's quite emotional, you can usually take the emotions and understand what they're trying to get at in the German language. Actually, the next one I'm going to mention is from one of you guys who messaged me and said you have to go into the ARD Mediathek right now and check out this new short series that they've launched. It's called Ein Hauch von Amerika. I opened it up, I watched it with my husband. We binge watched pretty much the whole thing. I absolutely loved it. I would definitely recommend it for any German even watching this. It is a 6-episode television series, and it shows the story of a young boy and a young girl in Germany post World War II. They live obviously entirely different lives. The girl is a relatively reserved young German girl who is working very hard to make money and support her family, and the boy is a young American boy who is still stationed in Germany with the American Army. And basically throughout these 6 episodes, their relationship grows stronger and stronger, and they have to go through leaps and bounds to be together. So it's really interesting, it's really emotional, it kind of gives you a better sense of what's going on because there's so much emotion in it. The nice thing about being able to speak German and English now is that I can watch TV shows in German and actually fall in love with them, you know, not just for educational purposes, but because it is sincerely interesting. And one of those TV shows for me is How to Sell Drugs Online. You might have actually already watched this even if you don't speak German, because it is really popular right now. It is pretty cool. They're actually already on their 3rd season. It was originally launched in 2019 and has been extremely successful in the German market. It's basically about this young, nerdy German boy who wants to impress his girlfriend and becomes a drug dealer selling drugs online. He soon becomes one of Europe's biggest online drug dealers. Now, I'm not usually one to watch these movies about gangs and drug-related behavior. However, this is like really dry, hilarious sense of humor type of series that I definitely recommend you watch, even if while I'm saying this, you're like, I don't know if that's really my thing, because I'm telling you it's not my thing usually, but this one is entirely different and it's really, really funny. I think I might have already told you guys one of my favorite small towns in Germany, and I'm gonna mention it again because the next movie that I'm gonna mention is actually filmed there. Just about 1 hour from Düsseldorf, you will find this tiny little town in the Eifel Valley called Monschau. And there is a relatively new Netflix film that was launched 2 Christmases ago, I believe, called Über Weihnachten. It's about this guy, this musician who moves to Berlin and tries to find his way, and he comes back home for the holidays. He finds out that his brother is dating his ex-girlfriend, which he becomes really pissed about, and just basically everything turns to shit. His Christmas is ruined. It takes you all through the city, so you get to see a little bit more of this charming historical Germany, which I think is really, really nice. And with humorous movies, it's also a lot easier to understand what's going on. One of the newest ones that I haven't gotten into yet, but I wanted to mention attention because my German friends who live in the south of Germany just came up last week and had me watch it. It's like this very, very terrible, like, oh my god, I can't believe they just said that kind of terrible. And it's called Jerks. And it's basically about two guys, two really close friends that deal with everyday problems with their wives and their families and life in general. And they're just, every situation they get themselves into, they're just idiots. Like, you're just like, oh my god, why did you do that? It's a super awkward comedy that is actually slow enough to understand. How many of you have heard of the TV series Dark? I actually learned about this series from my stepbrother back in Canada who was watching it dubbed in English, and I watched it in the German language. Obviously, I like it when it's not dubbed, and this was a great way for me to also learn the language because the quality of the filming, like my husband and I would watch it and we're just like, wow, the quality of the film production here in Germany has gotten so good that I would say it's on par with American film productions now. Dark was launched in 2017, is now 3 seasons long, and basically starts off when a couple German children go missing in the woods. It's a mystery drama series, and they find out that they're kind of like in this other dimension, or they're in the same town but years before or years into the future. It's really hard to explain this one. You kind of have to watch it for yourself. If you want, you can start watching it in English first, but it's definitely worth checking out as well. It is for advanced learners though, so I would say you do definitely have to speak a bit of German to really be able to understand it and get into it because it's very intense. And then the last one that I will mention is also super intense. I still don't understand everything in this series, and that is Charité. I started watching Charité because my mother-in-law actually lives right next to that hospital in Berlin. For those of you who haven't heard of Charité before, it's actually a world-renowned hospital clinic that is still around today where they found cures for many of the different diseases, and some of the most famous doctors and scientists are connected to this hospital. So basically each different episode within the seasons is all about the history being made and breakthroughs being made and them finding cures for various different illnesses. And each episode kind of focuses on something different, like babies being born in breech position, finding a cure for tuberculosis, polio, cancer, false diagnoses, for example. And it's also definitely worth watching, even if you don't understand entirely everything. But I really hope that all of these TV shows and movies help you guys out as well. These are my absolute favorites. Sometimes I Google like the best German TV shows to watch to learn German, and I have to admit that the lists that pop up aren't usually that good. So I wanted to use this time to help give you guys a few more tips that I think that you'll really fall in love with. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, I mentioned Lingopie. Their platform is the perfect way to be binge watching shows and movies similar to these ones. So you can go down in the description to check out those links if you'd like. If you have any questions, let me know as well down in the comment section below. Und wie immer, vielen, vielen lieben Dank und bis später.